Basically, in this video, just wanted to talk about one of the many reasons that I am proud to be an ex-Catholic. And one of those reasons is that the Catholic Church has a history of horrible tyranny uh, throughout history, basically. Burning anyone at the stake that doesn't agree with them, uh, forcing women into monasteries, both men and women, into a lifetime of slavery, basically. And horrible, horrible abuse like that. Now, my story is that I was raised Catholic. And I stopped being Catholic at around age 12, but I didn't completely abandon Catholicism until around 16 when I read about the Magdalene laundries in Ireland. Uh, and the Magdalene laundries, if any female had, intercourse outside of wedlock, they were basically locked up in these, what they called Magdalene asylums for the rest of their lives, basically into slave labor. And this was basically supported by the Irish Catholic Church. So, one big reason why I'm an ex Catholic is I could not stay Catholic knowing the horrible history of the Catholic Church. Anyone who stays in the Catholic Church, in my opinion, after knowing such a horrible history of Roman Catholicism, isn't being true to themselves as a human being. And they are the same type of people who would turn a blind eye to Hitler in Germany in the early 40s, basically. I have a saying, evil men succeed when good men fail to speak up, and this is one of those reasons, and why I'm so outspoken against the Catholic Church, because if we let this church run rampant, or, across America, uh, they will basically completely turn this free nation into a nation of slaves. They have no respect for the Constitution. They have no respect for religious freedom, and they would go back to burning people at the stake in a heartbeat if we let them run rampant across basically the world like they did back in the medieval era. For example, in my opinion, Martin Luther had a right to leave the Catholic Church, a constitutional right. Even though America wasn't around back then, I still believe in the constitutional right to switch churches. And that's why I have to say, God bless Martin Luther. God bless Jan Hus. God bless Waldo in the medieval era, who ran the Waldensians, who basically were born again Christians. They believed in basically the exact same Bible interpretation that the Christians in America believe nowadays. And these people had a God given right to leave the Catholic Church. So that's basically another reason I believe everyone has a right to leave the Catholic Church, and the Catholic Church throughout history has done all it can to prevent people from leaving. Funny thing is, that's what cults do, basically. Another reason why the Catholic Church likes to tell people that once you're baptized Catholic, you're Catholic forever. That's not true. Just because some guy wearing a dress, looking like a drag queen sprinkled water on you when you were, barely conscious as an infant, doesn't mean you're Catholic for the rest of your life. You can still be free of that evil cult, basically. I also remember during my first communion that I also found it kind of weird how I have to confess all my secrets to a guy wearing a dress sitting in some kind of box they call a confessional booth. Now, some secrets you shouldn't keep. If you've done something bad, it's better just to come clean and tell people what you did, how you messed up, instead of, keeping it a secret for the rest of your life. But some personal issues they want you to confess. it's very private, you know. So the thing is, I lied to the priest when I was a kid during my first confession. I didn't even believe that cookie was the body of Christ. Now, me personally, I'm not Christian in general anymore. I'm animist now. Matter of fact, I have an animist shrine behind me right here. And so me as a kid taking communion, I lied to that, guy wearing a dress sitting in a box, just ate the little waffle they gave me. And I just behaved because my mom said that, she'd buy me a video game if I did, basically. So I never had any faith in the Catholic Church. Uh, I always thought it was a bunch of nonsense. That's another reason why I'm an ex Catholic and why I'm very proud and outspoken about being an ex Catholic. Because I also want to show people if you don't believe in Catholicism, you don't have to, ruin true spirituality for yourself by staying in a cult just because your family's staying in that cult. Basically, when I get married, I'm planning on taking my wife's last name and cutting ties with my family for being Catholic and raising my kids non Catholic, whether it's Protestant or Jewish or animist. I guess some people can call it pagan. I prefer animist. I think almost anything's better than Catholicism because it's really just a cult. At the end of the day, I truly believe that confession originally was just created to spy on people by the Roman Empire, if you really think about it. There's not that much spiritual significance to it because everything you do is between you and God. It's between you and the Great Spirit. It's not between you and some guy wearing a dress that looks like a drag queen sitting in some box that they call a confessional booth. Now, I know in the past I uploaded videos talking about how I'm ashamed of my Polish heritage, and I made a video talking about why I deleted those videos. And one of the reasons was because I didn't want my channel to just be about me crying about how I'm ashamed of my Polish heritage, because it's kind of silly considering that I'm an American and I was born here. But one of the reasons why I was greatly ashamed to be Polish was because I just found it pathetic how enticed the Polish people were, and some of them still are, into the Catholic cult. The Catholic Church didn't do Poland any favors, considering the Catholic Church is the church that started communism, if you really look at the history. So I always found it ridiculous how the Polish people always have these pictures of John Paul II kissed them, you know, uh, and they also believe that the Virgin Mary appeared to them in Poland. I don't believe that was the Virgin Mary. That was a decisive spirit pretending to be the Virgin Mary. The Virgin Mary's dead. And if her spirit is still running around, it's most likely in Jerusalem. She wouldn't just travel all the way to Poland or Italy just to appear to some random guy that thinks he's more enlightened than everyone else, basically. So another reason is my upbringing in a Polish family. I always found their obsession with Catholicism to just be extremely cult-like and pathetic, if you ask me. Another reason is I always found the ritualistic cannibalism that they perform and the ritualistic vampirism that they perform to have been disturbing as a child. I always wondered, why are we eating Jesus Christ? Why are we drinking his blood? There's something not right about that. And if you really think about it, these people aren't that different from furries. They're just as depraved as furries, thinking they can dress up as animals and pretend to be animals. Same thing with that. Uh, Pretending to eat human flesh, drinking blood like a bunch of vampires. At this point, if you think about it, they're like just role playing. They are LARPing as a cannibal cult. And they're also LARPing as vampires. See, the Catholic Church likes to call out pagans. Now, I do not consider myself a pagan, because that's a name Christians gave for me. I'm simply an animist. But the whole idea of them calling pagans LARPers, and then they go out and LARP as vampires, is completely ridiculous. And when you start to really think about it, you realize how pathetic the Roman Catholic cult really is. I feel like if this was spread, more and more people would leave Catholicism for a more enlightened religion. And maybe one day we can completely get rid of the Vatican and their evil cult, basically. So, it's another reason why I'm an ex-Catholic. Symbolic cannibalism and LARPing as vampires, which is just as equally disturbing and pathetic as furries, if you really look at it. Like, seriously, as a Republican, I don't get how you can be part of a cult that LARPs as vampires and then you go and vote Republican. Like, at that point, just go sit with the furry Democrats at that point. Like actually, you Roman Catholics. Like, see, I knew from a very young age that this wasn't normal, and I left Catholicism from a very young age. And because I saw it as abnormal. Catholicism is an abnormal cult that LARPs as vampires and practices symbolic cannibalism. And me leaving such a cult, it's something to be proud of. To leave such a disturbing cult. If you left Catholicism, you should be proud of yourself, considering how disturbing they really are as a cult. And because I left such a cult, I truly am a proud ex-Catholic. And that's one of the reasons why I constantly comment on Catholic channels that I am a proud ex-Catholic. That's really all I have to say about the Roman Catholic cult.